Picture this. The year is 1972. The place, Washington D.C. The Watergate complex is about to become the epicenter of one of the biggest political scandals in American history. A series of clandestine operations and illicit activities are about to unravel, shaking the foundations of American politics. The key players in this high-stakes drama, a covert group infamously known as the Plumbers. Their mission, stop the leaks of classified information, with their actions leading to the infamous break-in at the Watergate complex. But the plot thickens. The Plumbers aren't just rogue operatives. They are connected to the White House, to the very top of American power, to President Richard Nixon. But how deep does this connection go? How entangled is Nixon in this web of secrecy and scandal? The answers to these questions would send shockwaves through the nation, leading to a presidency on the brink of collapse. So, the question we pose today: was President Richard Nixon actually involved in this scandalous act? Now, let's dive a little deeper into the Plumbers, the men behind the break-in. The Plumbers were a group of 5 men, each with a unique backstory, all drawn together by a shared mission. They were named after their initial task to plug leaks, but their actions would soon overflow into one of the most scandalous events in American history. First, we have James McCord, a retired CIA officer. He was the security coordinator for the Committee to Re-elect the President, also known as CREEP. McCord was the one who actually carried out the bugging of the Democratic National Committee's headquarters at the Watergate complex. Then there's Bernard Barker, a real estate agent and former operative for the CIA during the Bay of Pigs invasion. Barker was the money man, handling the funds for the operation. Next we find the mysterious Eugenio Martinez, another Bay of Pigs veteran. Martinez was the one who actually broke into the office, a task he was all too familiar with from his time in covert operations. Frank Sturgis, a former Marine and another Bay of Pigs veteran, was the muscle of the operation. His role was to provide security and ensure the operation went smoothly. Lastly, we have Virgilio Gonzalez, a locksmith by trade, who was tasked with picking the locks at the Watergate complex. His hands, skilled in the art of lockpicking, played a vital role in the break-in. Each of these men acted with a singular purpose, fueled by their own motivations. But one must wonder, who could have orchestrated such a covert operation? Who could have convinced these men to risk their reputations, their careers, and their freedom for the sake of political subterfuge? These men, acting seemingly on their own, managed to shake the foundations of American politics. But was there someone pulling the strings from behind the scenes? And so we turn our attention to President Richard Nixon. Could he have been the puppet master in this scandalous plot? Let's take a closer look at the man himself. Richard Milhouse Nixon, the 37th President of the United States. A man known for his political acumen, but also for his possible involvement in one of the most notorious political scandals of the 20th century. Now, Nixon always maintained that he had no prior knowledge of the break-in. He claimed that he found out about it from the newspapers like everyone else. But as the investigations went on, it became increasingly clear that there was more to the story. In the midst of the chaos, Nixon made a public statement in which he denied any involvement in the Watergate scandal. He said, "I am not a crook." It was a bold assertion, one that would come to define his presidency and his legacy. But while Nixon was publicly proclaiming his innocence, behind the scenes he was working hard to cover his tracks. The White House was in damage control mode. Nixon and his aides were desperately trying to contain the fallout from the scandal, and then there were the tapes. Oh, the tapes. These were the audio recordings that captured Nixon and his aides discussing the Watergate break-in and their attempts to cover it up. The existence of the tapes was a bombshell revelation. It was the smoking gun that investigators had been looking for. The tapes were damning. They revealed that Nixon had been involved in the cover-up from the very beginning. Nixon tried to prevent the tapes from being released, but the Supreme Court ruled against him. The tapes were made public, and the American people heard the truth for themselves. Nixon's presidency was in tatters. The tapes had revealed his guilt for all to see. The House Judiciary Committee voted to impeach him, and it looked like his days in office were numbered. But Nixon was not going to go down without a fight. He continued to insist that he was innocent. He claimed that the tapes had been edited to make him look guilty, but the evidence was against him. The tapes were authentic, and they showed that Nixon had been involved in the Watergate scandal from the very beginning. In the end, Nixon chose to resign rather than face impeachment. He stepped down on August 8, 1974, becoming the first president in American history to resign from office. His vice president, Gerald Ford, took over and later pardoned Nixon for any crimes he might have committed while in office. While Nixon maintained his innocence, the evidence seemed to tell a different story. But was it all as clear-cut as it seemed? In the coming scenes, we will delve deeper into the details of Nixon's resignation and the lasting legacy of the Watergate scandal. But for now, let's ponder this. Was Nixon the puppet master, or was he simply a puppet caught in a web of deceit and corruption? Only history can judge. In the end, the pressure became too much. Nixon, the 37th President of the United States, resigned. This marked a momentous occasion in American history, as it was the first and only time a sitting US president has ever resigned from office. Richard Nixon, once a charismatic leader with a promising political future, found himself caught in a web of deceit and scandal. The Watergate break-in, the subsequent cover-up, and the relentless investigation by the press and Congress had created a political melee that left him with little choice but to step down. On August 8, 1974, Nixon addressed the nation on live television. His speech was filled with a mix of regret and defiance. He maintained his innocence, but acknowledged that his leadership had become a distraction, hampering the government's ability to function effectively. The very next day, he officially resigned, leaving the Oval Office and the fate of the nation in the hands of Vice President Gerald Ford. The aftermath of Nixon's resignation was a period of intense national introspection. It shook the public's confidence in the government and led to a heightened level of cynicism towards politicians. The event also had a profound impact on American politics. It led to significant reforms, including new laws aimed at increasing transparency and accountability in government. Yet the fallout from Nixon's resignation wasn't just limited to the political sphere. It permeated American culture, influencing everything from literature and film to popular music. The term Watergate has since become shorthand for political scandal, a testament to the lasting legacy of this watershed moment in American history. Despite the evidence against him, Nixon never admitted guilt for the Watergate scandal. Instead, he spent the rest of his life attempting to rehabilitate his image and legacy. His efforts were only partially successful, and his resignation remains a stain on his record that no amount of revisionism can fully erase. Nixon's resignation marked the end of a tumultuous chapter in American history. But the question remains, was he guilty or was he a scapegoat? One thing's for sure, the legacy of Richard Nixon and the Watergate scandal continue to shape American politics and culture to this day. The Watergate scandal left an indelible mark on American politics and continues to be a topic of heated debate today. The fallout from this political earthquake is still felt, shaping the way we view the presidency and government transparency. Nixon's potential involvement in the scandal has been a subject of intense scrutiny, but regardless of his role, the scandal forever changed his legacy. Watergate birthed an era of skepticism where public trust in the government plummeted. It was a stark reminder that even the highest office is not above the rule of law. The scandal also contributed to the implementation of new laws designed to increase government transparency and accountability. The legacy of Watergate extends beyond politics, infiltrating American culture and society. It has become a symbol of political scandal, with the suffix "gate" now commonly used to denote any significant scandal. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most intriguing chapters in American history. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for more. Until next time, keep questioning.